So Amazon bought MGM. Amazon, the same studio that were just bragging about putting $500 million into or $400 million, whatever, a lot of money into a Lord of the Rings TV show. And the crazy part is, I had to go look this up because after I ranted about this last week, I wanted to go look it up. Where's the money going for this Lord of the Rings TV show? It's not into the talent. You know, there isn't no headline actors that or actresses or whatever that we know of. Like, they're not big names, so millions of dollars isn't going to talent. The directors aren't big names. Like, there's not a lot of big names here. So even the studios, like, there's no big names. So where is $400+ million going into? That's how much.
You think it's going to a marketing campaign down the road?
Oh, maybe it's maybe. Oh, that would be genius. Imagine this. All right, guys. We're going to spend $400 million on marketing. And we're going to start the marketing by telling everybody that the budget for the show is $400 million. that would be so smart. Because that's the first thing that it's going to pop off right there. Everybody's like, whoa, that's going to be big. And then when you see trailers, everybody's going to expect them to be just epic, you know? Well, this studio spent that much money on a show. And now they bought MGM. So, are they buying MGM just for the old library of Tomb Raider, Bond movies, Legally Blonde, Real Housewives? Maybe they want The Handmaid's Tale. Maybe they want to just rob Hulu. Maybe they spent $8 billion so they can steal Handmaid's Tale from Hulu. I don't think so. Look, Amazon is not interested in making maybe they do it, but for the most of their content is not. We're not going to make one 2-hour movie that we pray you come watch. They want to make a series that you will get invested into, that you talk about online, and you want season 2 and season 3. Now, what does MGM have in the role of series? Well, they have Real Housewives. I mean, I only think you bring that back, guys. They got The Handmaid's Tale. Cool. All right, Hulu's already done that to death, so it's not like, I don't know where else they can go with that. They have Fargo, which is great. They can go more with that. The rest of what they have is pretty much movies, and then you have Stargate, right? Stargate with 300+ episodes, thousands of hours of television, a massive built-in audience, and in addition to the TV show, there's also a movie. So that is like you said, that I feel like that is definitely a diamond in their eye. That's a massive part of their collection is the Stargate, which is why they didn't when they launched their streaming service, they didn't launch a Bond service, a Legally Blonde service. They launched Stargate Command. It failed, unfortunately, but they put their apples in that basket for a reason. They thought, okay, this is a big chunk of our worth is in this show. Let's start a streaming service and see how it goes. Didn't go well because they didn't really invest much money into it.
Do you think we're going to get, with regards to James Bond, like the way just the way there's a Jack Ryan series? I mean, are you seeing something maybe like a James Bond series?
Yeah, you know what? The problem with that, and I thought the same thing. I thought, okay, there's going to be a James Bond series because making James Bond movies is expensive, and it might not pay off the way, like, Amazon wants subscriptions. So when you make a movie, it's going to go to theaters, especially James Bond, because half the franchise is actually owned by the family of the original creator, and they've made it very, very public that James Bond movies are not going to streaming. They will always start in a theater. So that doesn't help Amazon, right? It doesn't help Amazon, who doesn't own theaters, to buy a property that they can't actually immediately start benefiting from because they have to make the movie, put it in theaters, then eventually gets to the streaming service, right? It would make more sense to make a show. So now, while the family of the creator have creative control, they've made it clear that it's not ever going to go to streaming first, but they never talked about no TV. So imagine a spin-off, like, Let's just speculate here. I would love to see a spin-off of what's the guy that invents stuff?
Oh, Q.
Q. I want to see a Q spin-off. Like a whole series about the Q department. That would be fascinating, right? There's so many options. You can go before the movies and work into how he started his life. You can go after the movies. You can completely ditch Bond altogether and just have it about the agency.
Q and Moneypenny, yeah.
Right. Why not? Like, and
well,
while all that family has creative control, I doubt they're gonna care about so much creative control when the main character's not even involved. You know.
That's interesting. I do see the whole Jack, and forgive me the parallel to Jack Ryan series, but I do think they've seen that as a success, and I do think that they're going in that direction. And I also think that the article says a zombie studio. It's kind of harsh, a zombie studio.
Yeah,
isn't
that's
it?
why I selected this article. They talk about this studio being, granted, MGM has filed bankruptcy so many times. It's insane. They pretty much just they've figured out the way of evading debt collectors. But zombie studio or not, the fact they're not making anything doesn't mean they're a zombie studio when their properties are still on the forefront of people's minds a decade after they're gone. It's not really a zombie studio when they own, again, James Bond, Stargate, The Addams Family, Fargo, Tomb Raider. They're in the middle of making a Tomb Raider movie right now. That doesn't sound like a zombie studio. Now, maybe zombie in the studio in the sense that they're not really doing much. They're not doing much themselves. They basically lease the properties out. But their properties that they own are still being created. So,
yeah, and I mean, it seems to me like they're setting up to start churning out content like left and right. To be honest, hopefully, a lot of it's going to be Stargate.
Yeah, I think so too. I doubt there's going to be a Wizard of Oz series. Actually, I don't think there could be because Warner Brothers technically owns the rights.
Yeah, there was some kind of switch. They lost some of their properties, right?
Because I was thinking about that too. Like, it would be awesome to have like a Wizard of Oz series where it's like dealing with that world. Because one amazing thing about Wizard of Oz is like the world Oz. Like, I want an entire series about Oz. That'd be amazing. But I don't think they can do that because of.
Did you like that second movie they did a few years ago, 10 years ago?
It was okay. James Franco is. He's just too much for me. He's always too much. And now when he's in a comedy movie where he's supposed to be too much, then it works. But when he's not supposed to be too much, he's still too much. It's sort of like Johnny Depp. You put Johnny Depp in anything, he works as the Jack Sparrow. But then you put him in a movie where he's not supposed to be Jack Sparrow, and guess what? He's still Jack Sparrow. Like it never ends. So yeah, it was okay. I felt like that wasn't they really focus a lot. It needs to be a TV show. You can't do so. You can only do so much with a movie. You have an hour and a half. How much of
You're
that
absolutely right.
can you introduce?
You can do so much with a TV show. You can go so much exploring, so much in depth, and wow.
I actually prefer TV to movies. I tell my wife that. I tell Shane that all the time, and my wife, because Shane likes movies. I'm like, look, nothing's wrong with movies, and I know why they like them. They like the fact there's a beginning and an end, right? I love TV shows because there's a beginning. If it's done correctly, then there is a beginning and an end to that episode. But it's not ending for you. Like, you can go back to that well. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, so that's what's happening. And we did make a video about it. And by the time all the regular non-supporters see this video, our video will be up. So they'll be watching us talk about it post-video, I guess. Yeah. Oh, let's talk about real quick. Before we finish the topic, I do want to see how much money was spent. So, Amazon spent $8 billion in MGM. Let's compare that to Disney, who bought Lucasfilm for $4 billion. And they spent $7 billion to acquire Pixar. You start thinking about these numbers, like those were big numbers.
You're right. Yeah.
I mean, that means that they spent more on MGM than Disney spent on Lucasfilm and Pixar. How much did they spend on Marvel?
Doesn't that say to you, Brian, that maybe they were in a bidding war with somebody else for MGM?
It's possible. Oh man, because Shay and I were talking about that. Like, one reason that this is really bad for Netflix is that Netflix is running out of content. You guys, this is nuts. You know, we told you that Netflix was king, top dog, right? And they are still. They're still top dog. When it comes to streaming services, like, they're on the top. They have the most subscribers. They're making the most money. They're making a lot of money. We're talking about 300 million times $15 a month, okay? But they're running out of content. Everybody's starting their own streaming services. Disney's content on Netflix is expiring. As time goes on, you're going to see less and less Marvel and whatever movies on there. Even some of the Sony stuff is starting to make its way to Disney.
Even the Popcast guys are starting their own streaming service.
When we did, it's on YouTube. No, but Hulu.
Your members only, right?
When Disney bought Fox, all the Fox stuff, the CW, all the stuff that was on Netflix, instantly got an expiration date. All of a sudden, instead of those contracts being renegotiated or whatever, they're going to be pulled off. A lot of content is being removed from Netflix. Netflix is quickly trying to develop its own content, and they're doing good, but they're not moving fast enough. They're just not. They're starting to buy documentaries from like 13 years ago. Like, I'm seeing like, oh, some new thing on Netflix, and it's a doc I watched 13 years ago on YouTube. All of a sudden, it's no longer on YouTube. You're like, whoa, that guy sold his doc to Netflix.
And for that very reason, Brian, I'm hopeful that Joe Malazzi will be able to get Dark Matter taken up for season 4 from Netflix. Hopefully,
that'd be fantastic. But I guess I gotta ask you: does he own the rights to Dark Matter?
He doesn't. I think Prodigy Pictures does.
So he would have to. So there's some steps that have to be done, right? So he's got to get Prodigy in bed with Netflix, gonna get that set up, and then get Netflix to, it's the whole thing. I would love it.
Yeah,
I loved Dark Matter. That was, dude, it's officially on my top 10 of all time sci-fi. This show that I didn't even hear about until 3 years ago. It was fantastic, but I don't know. There's some steps there, and
yeah.
I feel like Netflix is gonna buy anything, but it seems like because people know that, the price tags are getting sort of nuts.
Yeah, because you were saying that $8 million is ridiculous. Is it because there's a scramble? There's a scramble now for property, and there's not for valued property, and basically, and maybe they were outbidding somebody else. I mean, maybe that's.
Yeah, listen, I don't know what I'm talking about half the time, but I'll tell you this: I don't know if there's many studios left to sell content. So, like, if you're Amazon or Netflix, and all these studios are starting their own streaming services, I mean, Universal NBC started Peacock, right? And by the way, like, they did a new season, they did a Psych movie. Like, remember that show Psych?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a show called Psych that was awesome. It got canceled, and Peacock made a new movie and didn't tell anybody. I was just scanning through and I saw a Psych movie made last year. I'm like, what?
Wow.
I think their marketing game has got to be better than that. Anyways,
wow.
Yeah, Universal, NBC started Peacock. Disney started Disney Plus. Fox is owned by Disney. What's left? MGM was one of the last of the Mohicans that had not started their own servers or sold out. And Amazon picked them up. So I think the bidding war was like, I bet you Netflix and Amazon might have been in competition. And honestly, I don't know which company I would rather have access to Stargate, but I tell you this, Netflix has really never let me down. So, neither is Amazon, but Amazon has so much other things going on that isn't TV. When Netflix is just one thing. They make media. So I almost would rather have seen Netflix get it if that's the case. But
do you think what Amazon did with The Expanse? Do you think that may have done any, pulled any weight with regards to thinking about Stargate's future?
Yeah, we made a video about that. Jeff Bezos didn't really know much about The Expanse, and then the fans.
That was a good video.
Yeah, the fans are what got Expanse remade, and it was a sort of a perfect timing, right? Like it was like we said, it was like, oh, it was luck or destiny. Well, it was timing, right? So imagine if Stargate fans had access to the same communication that we do now, and that something had just ended, and they had the ability to talk directly to like the boss, the big boss in charge, the way we do today. And that's what happened was they just sort of gently inundated him with Expanse and said, like, we want more Expanse. And Jeff Bezos was like, yo, why are we making this new TV show that no one's heard of when all these people already want Expanse? And wisely so. They ended up with, 4 seasons, right? And it's one of the most watched TV shows on Amazon Prime right now. So it was probably worth it. So I can totally see, Jeff Bezos sitting in the room like, yo, these guys have 300 plus episodes of an Expanse-like science fiction show that already has a built-in audience of millions of fans. Oh yeah, we need to buy that. I can see that.
Can I throw you a curveball?
Sure.
You know how we're getting all these videos about UFOs and stuff, and it seems like there's disclosure going on in the media.
Yeah, no one cares though because they're more
and no one cares because of the pandemic.
What's going on with Dogecoin and pandemic? Yeah,
exactly. But isn't it interesting? Because a lot of people have said that a lot of times, what if Stargate is a lot of people suggested is Stargate part of disclosure?
Yeah, I would love that. That'd be great. I mean, why not, bro? Bring on the Overlord.
I'm just getting your video flagged right now.
Maybe they got a cure for the pandemic or knowledge of. I don't know. What's crazy is I remember I was researching Cheyenne Mountain when we did our doc, and I went through hundreds of hours of footage of Cheyenne Mountain because I realized as I was like going through the footage to try to get clips, I was like, yo, this is fascinating. Like they're taking us there's so many parts of Cheyenne Mountain you aren't allowed to see. And I'm not saying that there's a base in Cheyenne Mountain, obviously not. If they're gonna, remember that there was a show inside Stargate called Wormhole Extreme. I don't know.
But there is a base there, though. There is a base.
No, but I'm talking about like a star, science fiction base. Yes, Cheyenne Mountain is NORAD, right? So there's a base there. I doubt if they were really hiding Stargate type stuff from us, they wouldn't actively tell you where the base was. They might make a show as controlled information. That makes sense. They did that in the show, which would be hilarious. Because in Stargate, they had a fake TV show called Wormhole Extreme, where they purposely allowed it to go up. They went out of their way to make sure that it happened, and they made sure to put just enough misinformation in there to make it sound so ridiculous. When someone saw a spaceship that resembled it, they would be like, "Oh, that's just a crazy science fiction nerd."
That's great.
It would be great, but I doubt they would do it in Cheyenne. So if it's not in Cheyenne, then where is it? It's probably somewhere, at the bottom of a underground base in Area 55 or something. I don't know.
Thanks for watching. To see the full conversation, become a member of the Popcast family. Use the link in the description below, or go to our channel and click the join button. Select your tier, and we'll see you at the next show.